Hi everyone, welcome to this demo. Today I would like to introduce BiasMint. Our framework lets you pick an evaluation matrix and set the target value. Starting from any datasets, BiasMint generates candidate outputs, scores them with the chosen matrix, and then samples the one that moves closer to your target. The expanded dataset can then be used for lightweight fine-tuning, so the model gradually adapts toward your goal. When you first enter this system, you will see four main tabs: dataset selection, model config, training config, and results. You can go step by step to set everything up. Let's start with the dataset selection. Here you choose a raw dataset that will later be used for scoring and sampling. By default, we provide both, which is a bias-focused, open-ended language generation dataset. But you can also upload your own dataset on Hugging Face, and the system will automatically validate if it's usable. Next, you will see the number of candidates. This means for each prompt, how many generations you want the model to produce. All of these generations will become the candidate for later sampling process. Then we have test data limits. Since some datasets are very large, you can choose how many samples to use. The system will randomly select the number of examples you set. We also support counterfactual setting, which is a form of data augmentation. For example, if the original sentence is Terence is an American artist, a counterfactual version could be Rosemary is an American artist. That is a gender counterfactual. You can customize how many times you want to apply this kind of replacement. There is an optional field where you can load the dataset domain and category. You can freely select it from different domain and different category for your sampling process. After finish the dataset setting, we move on to the next step, model config. First, you need to select a language model that can perform text generation. This model will be used to create the candidate samples for your chosen datasets. And here is the feature selection model. Here you pick the evaluation matrix you want to align with, along with the target value here. By default, we provide 5 tasks for debiasing task, each with a defined range and a natural baseline. The target value you set will guide the sampling process, so the selected output moves closer and closer to that value. Once everything is set up, you can process to fine-tuning. In this step, you can decide whether or not to fine-tune the model. We have deployed the system on Hugging Face, but due to the resource limits, fine-tuning is not available there. However, if you clone the system and run it locally, you can directly train and save the model. Here you can configure some basic parameters such as APA, bench size, learning rates, and the temperature for language model. Since we also need to check whether the fine-tuning actually makes the model align with the target metrics and value, you need to set the ratio for train and test data here. Once everything is set, you are ready to start sampling and training the model. Finally, we come to the result page. Here you can track the progress of the whole pipeline. Since the process involves both inference and fine-tuning, it may take some time. At the end, we will see several outputs. The first one is metric difference. We want the difference across category to become smaller after sampling, and you can see that the system achieved this goal. Next, we have 2 plots. One is for the original model, and the one is for the fine-tuned model. The dark line represents the target value we set earlier, so it's 0.5. After fine-tuning, the model's output moves much closer to its target, which shows that the alignment is working. At the bottom, we also provide a few downloadable files, which is the original model's generation and scoring results, the new dataset created after sampling, and the checkpoint of the fine-tuned model. And that's the full workflow of BiasMint. With this system, you can guide the language model toward your chosen metrics and target value, turning static datasets into adaptive training resources. We hope BiasMint makes it easier for you to explore, control, and align language model with your goal. Thanks for watching this demo.